Hello and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate. I am Jude Sandoval and I am incredibly excited to welcome to the show today Sebastian Harris, founder of globalseducer.com and the creator of the Rise of the Phoenix course. The Rise of the Phoenix course, his core concept is to give guys the freedom and confidence to let their true personality shine and to demonstrate a radical self-acceptance that women literally cannot resist. Sebastian, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, I'm really excited to talk to you today. I have read through your website. I love all of your tips and information that you share with men, and all the hard work that you do in helping men to learn and understand how to date again. And that's a big thing that I get questions from men, not only friends and men's in my divorce meetings, etc. But it's a real, we were just talking briefly offline. It's a real strange thing to start dating in after having been with women with the same woman for a period of time through marriage. So some of the tips that you're going to share today, I love your no BS style. So I'm looking forward into getting into talking about some of your course and some of these tips. If you would, could you share a little bit about globalseducer.com, the course, and also share maybe a little bit about your background as well?
Yeah, sure. At the moment, when it comes to Global Seducer, my main focus is on the podcast, which is the Global Seducer Quickie podcast that you can also find on iTunes. And then I also have this program, which is called Rise of the Phoenix. And for me, it was very important to design a program that sees seduction as a holistic concept, because so many pickup and seduction programs out there are just about use this technique in this line and then this will happen, which is very male analytical. But when it comes to seduction, there are so many, you could say, so many unpredictable moments, so many things that you can't control. And my focus is on turning men into the best versions of themselves, so that they basically have the seduction skills, but also do the internal work so that they can actually become the high value man who naturally attract women. And that was also a big thing for me on my journey, especially when it comes to working on myself, inner game, as it's called, and developing true self-confidence, because I was born with a congenital heart defect, and I had my first heart surgery as a little child and my second one with 13. And throughout all my teenage years and early 20s, I suffered from depression, social anxiety, and self-hate because of my scars, because I always, basically hated the way I look. And all this self-hate and all this doubt and never having any success with women, because of course I never tried anything, this then led me on this journey of breaking through all these negative beliefs patterns, working on my self-confidence. And finally, I got so obsessed with it that I got very good at it, at picking up girls, at seducing women, and very confident. And then I started teaching it to guys. And then I saw the first results and I was like, yep, I can do that.
Awesome. So it's interesting. You said seduce several times there. And I think that word gets for some reason gets a negative connotation sometimes. And let's just talk for a minute about that, about seduction. And can you speak to the positivity of seduction and why seduction is a positive thing as well as an important thing in the interaction between a man and a woman?
Oh, seduction is an incredibly important part of dating women, of the seduction, basically. I think the reason why it has such a negative connotation, let's maybe get that out of the way first, is because when it comes to dating advice for men, of course, men always struggle with the first step of dating women, which is picking up girls and seducing girls and getting laid. Women, on the other hand, when they are looking for dating advice, they don't have any problems with that, because a woman, all she has to do nowadays is to swipe once on her phone and boom, she got a match. So that's why this whole concept of dating advice for men, seduction, oh, it's evil, it's only about sex, oh my God, which is not true when you think about it, because both men and women have stages in their life where they are looking for hookups and when they are looking for relationships, which is totally okay. It's just that the advice for women focuses on long-term relationships, which is by this whole Disney blue pill society we live in is seen as, oh, that's so admirable, that's amazing. But
Hmm.
when it comes to getting laid, ooh, that's evil. So that's why I
Right.
think that's the first reason why seduction always has this negative connotation. But when you really think about it, a woman wants to be seduced. I mean, the craziest thing that I still find so interesting is that exactly in this day and age that is so focused on making everything that is seduction, everything that is sexual, especially when it comes from men, into something bad, the best-selling book of all time is 50 Shades of Grey.
Right.
It's just, I mean, nature screams basically, come on, please give me my man back, give me seduction, please. And that's something that I actually talk to a lot of my female friends about, is this notion that they are fed up with this idea that seduction is seen as something bad because they want to be seduced. It's the dream of every woman to have a guy who, yeah, who sweeps her off her feet in a very erotic way. The problem is just that seduction is seen by a lot of people as something that you do in a manipulative way, which is not
Right.
true. When I speak about seducing a woman, all I'm saying is that you basically provide her with an amazing experience that she wants to have anyway.
Right.
You will never be able to seduce someone who doesn't want to be seduced, just like you can't hypnotize someone who doesn't want to get hypnotized. It's
Exactly.
it's this misunderstanding, and I think if we go back to this idea that seduction is something beautiful, that it's something that's with consent, and that's very important, that it's with consent. I mean, a woman will only do what she wants to do, and that's
Exactly.
getting seduced by a man that she wants to get seduced by.
Well, and so basically what I'm hearing from you is that men and women just go about the approach in the, let's call it the initial dance from different perspectives, and the game theory has gotten such a bad rap, and partially because it's been utilized, like you said, as just techniques to get laid, but really what it is just learning how to have charisma and being able to be comfortable with yourself. And we're going to talk about some of that with some of these points throughout your course, but learning how to go about that approach with women in order to work towards that seduction. Is that a kind of a good paraphrase?
Exactly, because when you look at seduction in a non-holistic way and you only see certain techniques or only what do I say, then you're in trouble. Because when it comes to seduction, at least when you want to meet the woman in the real world, I mean, that's, for example, nowadays why I think that so many guys have problems with social interactions because they're so used to online dating, they don't even know anymore how to talk in the real world.
Right.
And of course, when you go on Tinder, I mean, sure, you will have a lot of success when you are very handsome because that's the main focus.
Right.
But when it comes to meeting women in the real world, there are so many different variables that you can all learn, just like you said, about charisma, about your communication, your body language, your style, the way you look at her, the way you behave around her, the way you joke, the way you communicate. It's all something that you can learn. And when it comes to getting good with women, that's why I always say, for example, when I have a one-on-one infield coaching and the guy tells me, yeah, but what do I say? At the beginning, it's okay to think about that because then it's kind of like having support wheels on a bicycle when you
Right.
first learn to ride the bicycle. That's important. But at some point, you have to detach yourself from that because if you stay trapped in this stage, then you will only turn into some kind of pickup robot who says the same line every day, the same line, or every time you approach a woman, and then you will never grow because
Right.
seduction is about your whole being. And I know that sounds a little bit spiritual, which it is, but it's truly about the man that you present her.
Yep, absolutely. So we're going to go through a little bit of your course, and I want to let everybody know that they can go to globalseducer.com and they can purchase the full course at your site. We're going to talk briefly about some specific points and also talk very specifically about some other techniques within each of these points. But there is so much more to this course and so much more to all of this. We could probably probably on each one of the points in each one of your chapters, we could do an entire podcast on each one of them, and that would be about 100 podcasts. So I encourage people to go and look at that, because there's some really, really amazing information here. So chapter one, your chapter, I love the headings of most of your chapters here. Chapter one is From the Ashes, the laws of the man every woman desires. There's, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 different sections, but the one I wanted to talk about today is how to turn your limiting beliefs into pure gold. You touched on that in the beginning intro, talking about some of your health conditions that you went through. Lots of men are going through in divorce and parenting some limiting beliefs, getting back into the world. Share with us how you can turn those limiting beliefs into pure gold.
Before I actually want to address how to turn them into pure gold, I want to address something that I think is very interesting for your audience.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to divorced men, and especially when it comes to American men. And I hope I won't get tarred and feathered saying this as a European, but just because I have so many American coaching clients, there's some, you could say, some belief that always comes up with American men, and that's that they believe they are not as good as their sexual market value actually is. American men always tend to sell themselves under value. And this comes actually, this is very important when it comes to your limiting beliefs. I mean, we're actually right now diving right into this, how to get over your limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Because while traveling all over the world and while living in different countries, it's amazing to me how some American men who are accomplished, who are good looking, maybe in their late 30s, late 40s, maybe even early 50s or late 50s, and they have everything in their life. They have an amazing job, they have amazing hobbies, they have an interesting life. And they would be like, in other countries, 99% of the women would give their left leg to date these guys. But in America, I have then people who make 6 figures and are very successful ask me, how can I approach the waitress? Will she like me? Oh my God.
Okay, interesting.
It's fascinating to me. And this actually goes back to a recent podcast that I did. I don't know if you've seen that whole Will Smith thing.
No, I didn't listen to that one.
Where basically, I mean, in that show, I hope I don't dive too much into a different direction, but I think it's very important when it comes to your limiting beliefs. Because when you think about it, Will Smith is one of the highest value men on earth. He's, when it comes to the sexual market value, top 0.00001%. And he puts up with a woman who basically cheated on him, who's in her mid-40s, and he could have everyone. And he's still in this blue-pilled mindset of, I have to stay with her forever. And I promise you one thing. Let's say no Thai man or Romanian man or Russian man who earns 500 euros a month would put up with that. These men have way more beautiful girlfriends than Will Smith, which is, when you really think about it, absolutely insane. That's something that I realized, that really in more traditional countries, the men just don't put up with that. They don't, no matter what their stand in the, let's say, when you go the Jordan Peterson way, dominance hierarchy is. But when it comes to American men, they are so conditioned to believe that women are on this pedestal, that the first thing that you have to do to overcome your limiting beliefs is to realize your own sexual market value.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, basically you're saying understand that you have value.
Yes,
That each and every man has value, and I can relate a little bit to what you're saying, because after my divorce, obviously you have a failed relationship and you're trying to sort through and trying to understand. I was of that mentality of putting somebody on a pedestal. Also, the philosophy of happy wife, happy life, which is I've talked about in another podcast with with a clinical psychologist about why that's a bad idea as well. And some of this stuff, like you said, is cultural. We do have listeners from all over the world, so I love hearing your perspective of American men and our culture. But there's also, we have other listeners all across the world too that might be saying, yeah, Sebastian, that's exactly right.
I mean,
That's totally true.
with the Germans, my nationality, it's also the same. It's just not so extreme. Or maybe
Uh,
it's just because I have more American coaching clients, can also be. But let's say generally in the West, this is a phenomenon which is incredible. Yeah, there's actually one thing. One of my best friends, she's Ukrainian. She's a very beautiful woman, and she lives in Germany. And she once said she loves Germany because she always feels like the most beautiful woman, because in Germany, apparently, according to her opinion, the men are the ones who are dressing up, and the men are the ones who are taking care of their body, which in other parts of the world you don't really see. And not that I don't say that this is good or bad. I just want you to put things into perspective, that if you are a man and you have a good income, you take care of yourself, you're not terribly overweight, you have hobbies, you have something going on in your life, you have value as a man. Just because your society tells you that you have no value and that, oh, toxic masculinity, everything you do is evil, just because that's the case doesn't mean that it's true. And this goes really, really deep now into overcoming your limiting beliefs, because I believe that most limiting beliefs are either from some trauma in the past. For example, in my experience, it was because of my heart surgeries, and I thought, hey, no woman will ever like me with scars. Eventually, when I then became confident and I hooked up with women and I dated women, I realized no woman cares. And the second point is also, when it comes to your limiting beliefs, most men have limiting beliefs when it comes to the way they look. And there are two reasons why this is, on the one hand, dangerous, and on the other hand, also quite stupid when you think about it. Because we are conditioned, again, with this Western society, that men choose women in the same way as women choose men, but that's not the case. Yes, for men, it's very important that women are beautiful. And yes, if you sign up on Tinder, then you also get the belief that it's all about looks. That's why I always say, be careful with the dating apps. Use
mhm.
them as a second strategy, but don't focus completely on them. Unless you are a male model, then you will have the time of your life.
Right.
But if you're not, if you're, for example, like me, skinny, baby-faced, and still looking like 18, it's not so good for you. But if you realize that women in the real world look for so many different qualities that have nothing to do with the way you look. Because if you approach a woman and you're charismatic, you're confident, you know how to communicate, you have a good style, suddenly you become more attractive in her eyes. The other way around, it doesn't work. If a woman shows these qualities, for us, it doesn't change anything. But for women, it changes everything. And that's also important when it comes to changing your limiting beliefs, to realize that you have this privilege to work on all these aspects. Like for example, if you decide to invest in my course, or even if you don't decide to invest in my course, no matter what you do, you can work on these things, no matter if you do it alone or if you do it with guidance. I just want you to know that you can become an amazingly attractive man. You just have to want it and do it.
Awesome. That's amazing advice. And I like this next one too that we're going to talk about from your chapter 2, setting her on fire, cracking the code of the female mind. Now, hey, if you've cracked the code, man, I'll tell you what, that would be unbelievable to know and understand the code. But the one I want to specifically talk about is zero rejection with the power of screening. The reason being that as a divorced father, I the the online dating. You've got so much going on, and the amount of time that it takes to put in to just get a date, and then showing up or getting blown off, or showing up and having it just be somebody that you're just not even compatible with. This power screening thing would be a huge benefit to all the divorce fathers out there. Tell me a little bit about it.
I mean, in my program, I mainly focus, when it comes to screening, on how you can decode the signs that she's actually interested in you. But I
Okay.
think especially for your audience right now, it's important to talk about three things when it comes to screening. And I hope I get them all together now because I just had the idea. I just
Okay.
came up with that. The first thing is, yes, it comes to this idea that if you approach women, or let's say before you approach women, when you, for example, go out and do day game, you approach women on the street or at the mall, that you screen her for signals, that you hold eye contact and you see if she looks back, that you see if she moves her body towards you when you're, for example, on a date, or that she on a date asks you intimate questions and deep questions about yourself, that she wants to find out who you are, that she actually dresses up for you. That's already a clear sign that she likes you. Like all these kind of signs, I would say that's the first part. The second part of screening is that you screen her on the date if you are compatible.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the biggest mistakes that guys make, again, because of this mindset of like, or let's say not mindset, let's call it biological impulse, that beauty means, yes, great girlfriend, but that's not always the case.
Right.
And especially if you're in this mindset of like, hey, I'm not quite sure about myself, again, limiting beliefs, if you didn't overcome them, and you then are on a date with a girl who's really beautiful, and she shows all these traits of red flag, warning, 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 and you just go, oh yeah, she's beautiful, woohoo, what can happen?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I coached guys who married women who showed all these negative like red flags and everything just because she was beautiful and because the ramba bam bam in the bedroom was great. That was basically the criteria for marriage, and that can mess up your life. I've seen it over and over again. So it's important to find out, are we compatible? Do we
Right.
want the same thing out of life? I mean, for example, if you say, I want children, but she doesn't want children, that won't work. Or the other
Right.
way around, if you say you don't want children and she wants children, just as an example. Or you say, I love traveling, I would love to travel all over South America, and she says, oh, traveling, I hate it.
Right.
Be careful with these relationships. That's the second part of screening. And now I come to the third part of screening. It's just a thought that I had that I came up with. I don't even know if it's related to screening. I can always say I'm not a native speaker, but it's about screening the best place you live. That might also be an idea for your dating success, because so many guys are trapped in this belief that they have to stay where they are. And again, this is something that I experienced with a lot of Americans. I coach a lot of American men who've never been abroad. They've never traveled to Europe, never traveled to Asia, never traveled anywhere, just in the United States. And then you have, of course, this mindset, okay, I can only stay here, I can only date here. Now I'm screwed. Without realizing that there's a whole world out there. I mean, that's why I called this whole thing the global seducer, because there's a whole world out there where you can explore. And like I said in the beginning, if you are this kind of guy, I mean, there are countries out there where you are in the top 1% of men if you treat women like a gentleman and with respect.
Hmm.
If you just do that, which is something, I don't know if it's true, but which is something that some of my American coaching clients told me, that some American women don't even appreciate that when you treat them like a gentleman. I'm not quite sure because I don't have this experience with American women, but it's just something to think about. When it comes to screening, screen her before you approach her. Does she actually want to get approached? Is there interest? Then it's easier because then you won't get rejected. Then screening her on the first date to find out, okay, are we actually compatible? Does she show any red flags? And then also screen your life a little bit, if screening is the right word for it, to say, okay, where do I actually want to live? Where are my chances better? For example, I heard from so many men that in LA it's terrible to date because everyone wants to date some celebrity and it's a very superficial city. But then when you go to New York, because there's so many more women than men, everything becomes more easy. So it's also about thinking about the location, screening the location.
Sure. So essentially what I'm hearing you say is that you're taking time to assess the environment, the total environment of your dating, as well as the specific situation, to determine, to screen out and determine if it's could potentially be a positive interaction or a negative interaction, or further down the road from that, be a positive relationship based upon what you want at the time. And that goes back to what you said earlier: is some people just want an interaction to just, some people just want to hook up, some people want a long-term relationship, some people want to get married and have kids and have a family. So you're taking the time from the moment that you assess your dating situation to screen your environment, where you're at, who you're going to potentially try to date, whether that's women in your country, go to other countries, etc., and then screening. So you're basically screening and assessing and changing whatever it is you're doing every step of the way in order to, you call it zero rejection, but I'm going to put it in a positive light to move it forward in the direction in which you are choosing it to go, that you want it to go. Is that
Exactly.
is it a fair?
Yeah.
Awesome. So chapter 3, and I sorry we're getting long here, and there's so much. I think
Oh,
we're gonna have to.
I
think we're gonna have to. I think we're gonna have to schedule another time and go through some other stuff too, because this is a lot of awesome
Yeah,
information.
sure. But I can also speed up a little bit. It's okay.
Chapter 3, hunting angels, the best place to meet emotionally healthy women. So I loved what you said in earlier about holistic approach, and lots of times in some of the game literature and stuff, you don't hear or have people talk about that you want to meet and be with somebody else that is emotionally healthy. You hear it all the time from on women's sites or women's coaches and stuff like that, but it's not like men are just running around looking for like the next crazy woman to sleep with. It's not, that's not, I think that's a complete fallacy. I don't know why that is a fallacy that's out there, but really men want the men, at least the men that I talk to, want to have a healthy, happy, fulfilling relationship with someone. And so this hunting, and obviously we want an angel or a unicorn or whatever you want. Don't we all, right? But the one specific here that I like that you talk about in this chapter is how to use your hobbies to get hotties. And that's really important. And it's something that I found really important for me, being a divorced father. So you have kids, again, like I mentioned earlier, you're very busy. That is a great way to be able to meet women, but also doing things that you really like, that you enjoy, and that is part of your life. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, this comes back to what you just said about the fact that a lot of men are looking for a relationship, for a girlfriend, and also to the idea of compatibility. Because I think the most important part of a relationship, of a successful relationship, is compatibility. And when guys tell me that they are looking for a relationship or for a loyal girlfriend, and then they say, yeah, I try to pick up girls in the club every weekend. Hello.
Yeah.
It's not the right place to meet these kind of women there. It's just simple logic. Again, it comes back to screening, like find the right place where the women are that you want to date. Let's say, for example, if you are a complete fitness freak, you're like going to the gym all the time and you're lifting weights and you're completely into that lifestyle, why don't you try to meet women at the gym, at sporting events, maybe even at local meetups, running meetups or fitness meetups, whatever it might be. You can meet women there. Or if you're totally into books, go to a local book club. I mean, that's one of the best ways to meet women who are more introverted, who are more, let's say, intellectual, educated, and that's the kind of women that I like. I've been to book clubs, also because I love books, but also because I love this type of girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also this misunderstanding that a lot of men think, especially, maybe that's not true for divorced men, but it's true for a lot of younger men who start out with dating women, that they think, yeah, I have to get the party girl. Ooh, I want to date the hot party girl. Oh, be careful what you wish for. I've done that in the past, and it's not very, it's not very advisable to do that. Let's say it like this. It's you will have often a way better relationship with a woman who is actually compatible to you. So whatever it is that you want to do, that you like to do it with women, do it in the presence of women, socialize with other people in this area. And nowadays it's so easy. I mean, there's this website meetup.com.
Right.
You can either create your own meetup, which I've also done and which I want to do in the future again, or you can go to a meetup. You just have to do it. It's nowadays easier than ever. That's why I don't really buy into that when a guy tells me, oh, I'm too old to socialize, to meet friends. A lot of people are in the same situation. I mean, just think about how many divorced men are out there who have lost touch with their friends because they were in the marriage and they didn't really cherish their friendships anymore in this time. They all want to meet new people. And just bringing these people together is already socializing. So there's so many options that you can use, and then also engage in these hobbies. Because of course, it comes back to this idea of a holistic approach. When all you do is watch TV all day, no woman will be excited about that lifestyle. I'm sorry.
Exactly. And it also shows women that you have interests and that you like to, that you are creating this life of your own, and it's something that you are creating, that you like, that you are moving forward with, and that's very attractive to women to see that. Dr. Robert Glover talks about that quite a bit, creating your awesome life, and then finding somebody to come alongside you in that awesome life. And part of that is going out, finding what your hobbies are. This often happens, and I know that this was my case, in that when you get married, you have kids, you kind of get some of what you're interested in falls by the wayside, and that's a huge mistake, not having those hobbies. So one of the things when I got divorced is I started picking up some of these hobbies again, started new hobbies as well, of stuff that I always thought might be something that's interested in, and some of them have stayed around, some of them haven't, but I can tell you it is just very fulfilling. And then people look, and specific women, and they're like, wow, this guy's got a cool, full life. And it might not be the hobbies are the same, oftentimes they are, and then they just are very attracted to that.
Yeah, it's true. And it's also one of the main, or let's say the main reason that I found out why men are getting divorced. It's always the same story. They change their hobbies or their lifestyle for her, and that's why she will leave him. It's always the same thing. And
Right. And that's crazy, because those are some of the things that were most attractive to her when you started dating.
exactly, exactly. And that leaves so many men so frustrated and makes them go MGTOW and oh my God, women, because they fall into this trap of changing because she wants you to change. She never wants you to change. She
Right.
just wants to tell you to change.
Right. She may, yeah, and that goes back to, yeah, to the fitness test that they go, and I talked about in another podcast as well. So let's talk about some specific techniques. Your chapter 4 has some of that. It's Catch Her If You Can, Psychological Weapons of Mass Seduction, which I love that title too. But one of the sections is First Date Ideas 99% of men don't even think of. I think that's a great section. Tell us about it.
I mean, when it comes to date ideas, men are often very uncreative. They always go for the coffee date,
Yeah.
which is, of course, in the beginning, it's okay. But when it comes to dating, I mean, I would always use a first getting to know date. It's the first part. And then the
Hmm.
second part of the date is the activity date. So, for example, you start at the coffee shop, you start at Starbucks, the typical dating venue, and you talk a little bit, you get to know each other. And
Hmm.
then what you do later. Most guys are just spending 3 hours talking. She's falling asleep after the second coffee, and that's it. And then she never texts back. But what if you are the first guy who goes on that coffee date with her and who then says afterwards, hey, I know this climbing hall, let's go climbing. And she will be like, what? Huh? What?
Right.
Completely shocked, but in a positive way. Or you say, hey, there's this comedy club that I know it's really funny, let's go there in the evening. Or whatever it might be. I mean, you can think of so many different things, or you can just go to the park. One of the best date ideas in the summer is to go frisbee, play frisbee. How do you say that? I don't know. Throw
Yeah.
the
Frisbee.
frisbee,
Hmm.
like basically with the frisbee, which is something that you can do, which is so easy. Or organize a little picnic where you just take a few croissants and that's it to a park. All these things can already be more creative than everything she's experienced with other guys. And the second part to that is when you go on more than one dates in one date, or let's say when you choose more than one dating venues, this in her mind programs that you already experienced more together than you actually have. So if you only go with her to Starbucks for 3 hours, she thinks, okay, we experienced that together. Not so many shared experiences here. But what if you go to Starbucks, then to the park, then you have a picnic, and then in the evening comedy club? Boom, it's already half a relationship. And she will have so many more connections and so many more memories of this day. And the likelihood that she'll want to see you again is way, way higher.
Right. And during this whole COVID stuff that's going on, I think it's given, at least it's given me the opportunity to really think, because look, I can get into a rut too. And I try to put some thought into it. That's the point I'd like to make also, is that planning and putting the thought into it is something that is a huge attraction to women. So if you've planned, if you've thought of this, if you've thought why you're going to the coffee shop, or if you go to a coffee shop and you know it's by a park, there's there's a place that I go to, that's an ice cream shop, and there's a park right across the street. So
That's
I'll
perfect.
go get ice cream and go across to the park, which, it's just, they're not, you wouldn't think of eating ice cream in a park, right? So it's just an interesting, different, unique thing. And then all of those, all those thought processes that you just mentioned happen with women once you do that. So, and it can be crazy different stuff. I mean, maybe you do that. Maybe you say, let's go do something that's kind of, and even if it's not possible, if it doesn't transpire, it still creates that thought process in a woman, like, oh, this guy's pretty interesting. I want to see him again. I'd like to spend a little more time with him. And even if it doesn't transpire exactly how you would have liked it to, or thought it was going to, that it is still planting the seeds for something in the future. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, it can be looking at the stars, it can be organizing a little chocolate fondue, which can get messy very, very easily. It can be all kinds of things that don't cost a lot of money, or even less money than a coffee at Starbucks. You just have to be a little bit creative.
Man, that is a fantastic point,
Or you
because
can also check out all the date ideas that I have in my program. That's the alternative.
there you go. Let's leave it at that. We're running short on time because, yeah, chapter 4's got about 15 sections in it, which are all gold. So we're going to refer everybody to chapter 4 and in your course to go get it for any more specifics around this. So last chapter, and I love this. We just briefly talked about it offline, but chapter 5 is Disney Must Die: The Secrets to Getting and Keeping a Girlfriend. So I'm not a huge Disney fan either. The section that I'd like to chat about is Oxycontin addiction and the Disney love lie. What is Oxycontin addiction and the Disney love lie?
Oxytocin, the hormone. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone that women release during sex. And men, we also feel that. It's basically the hormone that we have when we are bond with somebody. It's also released when you bond with, for example, with your children or with your parents. It's like this feeling of bonding between human beings. And the biggest Disney love lie that I see is that apparently women fall in love through chocolate and through flowers and through whatever you can think of. But the truth is that women fall in love through sex. It's really that simple. And that's also why a lot of women fall in love with men who might not be good at for them, but they are good at doing things in the bedroom, which is of course not something that she consciously controls. It just happens. And in this chapter, I basically go into detail about that, why this is the case and why you have to understand that, so that you don't fall into this trap of being the nice guy and being all kinds of, yeah, here's the chocolate, here's the flowers, and I buy you this, and basically buying a woman's love, which you can never do. You also can't, you just can't talk about it and say like, hey, okay, now you're in love with me because I did this for you, I did that for you. It doesn't work like that. It only works for women. Of course, there is also an emotional component to it, but when it comes to sexuality, this is what makes women fall in love with you. And that's why it's so important that you actually become a good lover and that you're good at, yeah, pleasing women in the bedroom. I always say, don't try to please women outside of the bedroom, but try to please them inside in the bedroom. Then you are good to go.
So
And that's, yeah.
let's talk briefly about the psychological background behind that, because I think a lot of people will hear, oh, pleasing her, and they fall in love with you through sex, and that's just all mechanical, and there, that's really not true, and Disney's right, and I can already hear the cackling about that right now, but women like to receive, and women derive pleasure from, but also bond through receiving. And part of that bonding and that receiving is through a physical contact, or receiving of physical contact, which let you accurately describe, with uh, the hormones and the changes, the chemical changes that happen in their body while you are together. And so that is why they want to receive. And when, our bodies just biologically are set up for, men to penetrate and for women to receive. And it's structured that way for a specific reason. So I mean, I'm really going back, biologically and psychologically from where you started off with, that they bond through sex. So I just wanted to make that clear, because it is an absolute truth.
It is. And in my course, I actually cite also a study from the Rutgers University of New Jersey that confirmed this, that women produce oxytocin during an orgasm and men don't. And I think that's also the reason why women after sex are all snuggly and cuddly, while men rather need their space. It's a
Yep.
very different process of falling in love.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, so we're real long on this, but Sebastian, this has been phenomenal. I want to encourage everybody to go to globalseducer.com. They can buy the course, the Rise of the Phoenix course, there at globalseducer.com.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can go to globalseducer.com/rise of the phoenix. I think you can also put the link to that in the description. And if people want to hear from me and they want to hear my perspective on dating, then they can also look up the Global Seducer Quickie podcast, which is, as the name already says, a quickie where I always talk about 10 to 15 minutes about different topics that are dating related. And you can find it on iTunes and all kinds of other platforms.
That's fantastic. Sebastian, I really appreciate it. I want to say that I appreciate the holistic approach around the game theory and the seduction of women, and being a good and positive thing. I wish, and my hope is that more men like yourself and myself, and more women, will start talking about this more honestly, like you do, and like we have today, and not sugarcoat things, and not just have people feel like people have the worst intentions, because I feel like all of us, men, women alike, have the best intentions, ultimately want the same things. And if we're talking about these in an unvarnished way, like we have today, and like you do in this course, that we're going to go a long way to having much healthier, happier relationships together.
Yeah, exactly. That's also something that a lot of people misunderstand in today's world, that if you speak the truth, that doesn't mean that you have bad intentions. I absolutely love women. I really do. I love women. I want to help men, and I also want to help women to have better relationships. But in order to make that happen, you have to speak the truth, and you have to, yeah, to basically reveal your honest opinion and the facts that you believe are true. And unfortunately, we live in a society where nowadays it's all about the feels and the feelings. And
Right.
when it comes to the truth, it's often, it's often
Right.
disregarded.
Well, Sebastian Harris, thank you so much for being on the show today. Sebastian, the founder of globalseducer.com. We'll have the link to the Rise of the Phoenix course in the notes below. Please go check that out. Sebastian, thank you very much.
It was a great conversation.
All right, take care.